Hello, and welcome to my dining room. This is episode 11 of the Live and Learn Knitting Podcast. Knitting for now, and there will be some other things in the future. My name is Anne, or Annie, and I live on the banks of the Mississippi River in western Wisconsin. And I'm so glad that you're joining me today. I want to talk a little bit about this is Throwback Thursday on a Friday. And we'll get to what I'm wearing in a minute, but I just want to thank you all first for the nice comments that I got on the sock episode. And we could probably do a sock series. There's so much to talk about with socks. And I really appreciated the comments. Sounds like some of you do turn your socks and other things inside out when you wash them, and others are going to start. I will probably start doing that. I maybe more with things I put in the machine, and I don't wash my socks in the machine. I just sort of gently, put them in the sink and wash them by hand. But even so, I might try that for sure with my other hand knit items. And yeah, just some of the store-bought sweaters and things like that, turning them inside out before I throw them in the washer. Although sometimes it seems like things turn inside out in the washer all by themselves, depending on how much they're being agitated. And I have a newer washing machine. I bought it in 2000. Yeah, right at the beginning of the pandemic, I believe. Or maybe it was the year before. But it doesn't, still has an agitator in it, but it doesn't, and it's top load. It's not as aggressive of an agitation as the old-fashioned ones were, and I'm kind of sad I still don't have that heavy agitation for when I want to felt something. I have felted one thing in this new machine, and it worked okay. It maybe just took an extra cycle or two longer to get it to where I wanted it to be. So it's not impossible, but and I think I also did some hand washing, hand felting on that piece too. So it's not impossible, but it's just a little more tedious. Still, that's also already getting off topic. If you like this podcast, please hit the like, hit subscribe. You can hit the bell, click on the bell for notifications. All that's right down below here. And that's where you'll also find the show notes of, links to anything I talk about that is linkable. And there will be a few things. There might be a few things in this episode, just a few. Because this is Throwback Thursday of things that happened before the internet was created. So, first of all, though, or second of all, whichever of all, here's my tea for the day. Look at that nice little kitty cat with his pussy hat on, or her pussy hat on, and on this side it says, I do what I want, because I do what I want. And this was a retirement gift from my friend Anne down in Iowa. And I think she watches the podcast, even though she is not a knitter, but I think it's just a good way to maybe keep up with what I'm doing. And I appreciate her watching. And I appreciate all of you watching, for sure. So the tea today is, in the cup, is Stash peppermint tea. And keeping with the Throwback Thursday theme, it is a very old tea. Very old. It was a gift set that I got one year for Christmas, and I think it had 6 boxes or 8 boxes of tea bags from Stash, and different varieties in each box, and everything got used up over the years except for the peppermint. And I'm just not a huge fan, and I forget, if I just want a cup, I kind of forget it's there. But I'm trying to be better about using those things up. And so today, peppermint, because it's chilly enough in here. I didn't make a fire. It's been one of those mornings where I had to get up early and get some packages ready to mail. And I had on a different outfit, and I was sitting at my desk, which is right by a heat register in the other room, and I was getting overheated like you wouldn't believe. And I thought, gosh, I've got too many clothes on. Long johns and flannel lined jeans and a wool shirt and, a turtleneck, everything. It was too much. And then I went and walked downtown, got my packages mailed, went to the bank, did everything I needed to do, my errands, got some nice fresh air. It's mid-30s here today in Wisconsin, and it is not supposed to be mid-30s. We're having a January thaw. Let's just say it's that, even though it could probably be the worst case scenario of global warming. But it's raining and misting, just light rain. I didn't need an umbrella to walk downtown, but still. But it was nice. It was fresh air, cool air. So I did cool off, came home, took a shower, put on my Throwback Thursday sweater, and now I'm a little chilly again. So, it's going to be one of those days where it just sort of depends on what I'm doing and that. So I do need the warm tea. Another idea that someone had put a comment about the sock episode is blockers. They suggested cutting vinyl placemats to make sock blockers, and that is an option. And really, any rigid material you have that you could cut and smooth the edges, or just so that they wouldn't snag, so that they wouldn't have any shaggy bits that would snag on your socks, would work for blockers. And a couple other things I thought of besides heavy cardboard or thin wood would be foam core board. I believe you can get foam core as thin as half an inch, or I don't know if you can get a quarter inch, but half an inch foam core would, cut really nicely into a sock shape for blockers. And also, I don't know about you, but I've got some signs that were yard signs, and I've been saving them. It's that rigid or corrugated plastic that they're making a lot of signs out of nowadays. Political signs that go in your yard, or we had a Save the Pool campaign this last year. So, because there was a referendum about funding for our local municipal swimming pool. So I've got a couple of those signs left over, and those could be cut into a sock shape and used for blockers. They're lightweight, could cut holes in them. So yeah, there's, we're creatives. We can figure it out and make do with what we have. So all good ideas. And because I got so inspired on the socks the last episode, and even though I had 2 pairs already started, I had the tessellated socks going, and then those socks that I was starting out of this boots yarn. Even though I had 2 pair already started, I couldn't resist casting on for a 3rd pair. And you remember I showed this knitting pattern, and I made a photocopy of just the pages I needed. So I had mentioned it in the podcast that I always thought it was maybe a fun idea to take one of these where it has the family of sizes and make 1 pair in every size. And I just couldn't get that out of my head. So I thought, well, all right, just go ahead and do that. And then you'll have another take-along project for, knitting on the go. And just to do when I don't have the headspace to work on those complicated projects. So, like the red sweater, which we'll talk about in the future. So I did, and I had some sock yarn that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. So this is Malabrigo sock, and it's in the Carnival colorway. And in the skein, I wasn't sure I really liked it because it was kind of dark. and it's speckled and it's dark speckles, and I was having misgivings that I bought it, and I know I have at least 2 skeins, and I might have as many as 5 in this colorway in different dye lots. I'm not sure. And Malabrigo now, they don't dye lot their yarn because it is such a hands-on process with their dye process. And so you have to be careful about matching skeins that you bought. And I might have bought 2 and then bought 2 more for another project, not realizing I had these, and you know how it is. So I thought, well, this would be a good one to use, and I could probably get several pair out of the skeins that I have. And if they're, not quite matching up, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I started the sock, and I started doing the baby sock, which is 44 stitches. And I'm a loose knitter, so I'm doing it on 0 needles, or, now I'm trying to remember if they're 0 or they're 0. Yeah, but look how nice. Isn't that pretty? How that speckle is coming out? I think it's just so sweet, actually. So now I'm having second thoughts about this yarn. I mean, I'm liking it. I'm enjoying the knit. I'm enjoying how the color is turning out. It pleasantly surprised me. So, yay. A good, nice surprise. And I did put a little reinforcing yarn in the heel, a lace weight. I think it was a lace weight yarn that I had a little bit left over. And I actually used a blue, even though there's not a lot of blue in this colorway. You can barely see a hint of a shadow of a blue color there. So, and here I was trying to tuck it down. So that was the strand of lace weight that I put in the heel. And I'll do that in the toe as well. So yeah, a pair of baby socks, and I'm knitting according to what the pattern is telling me, not to maybe what I think a baby sock size would be. So, I like to do things intuitively, and if the pattern isn't being, coming out right, I would change it. But so far so good, and I think it'll be a sock that fits some baby or child. And like I say, maybe since I'm a loose knitter, it says here, it does say gauge 8 stitches per inch. I didn't check my gauge because it's not necessarily for a particular size person at this point. And they have eight sizes here. And I noticed today that they are only increasing 4 stitches each size. So it goes 44, 48, 52, 56, 60, 64, 68 to 72. And I usually cast on 60 stitches for my socks. So I think the next pair, after I finish the baby socks, I will do the larger child's pair. And I might skip and do, because 4 stitches doesn't seem like it's going to be that significant a change in size. And it could be, you're knitting maybe a little longer in the cuff, maybe a little longer in the leg and the foot, but it doesn't seem that significant to me. So I'm going to skip and do the 8 stitch increments. So I will do the larger child's, the larger ladies, and then there are 3 men's sizes, and maybe the middle men's size, and just see how that all works out. I'll do that to start with, and then if I decide to fill in those sizes I skipped, I might. I just want to see what the significance is in the size changes. So yeah, that's a new project that I've got going on, because once I started talking about socks, I just had to do it. Just had to start a pair. So that's the sock update, and now on with the show. Throwback Thursday, and this is it. And I will stand up, see if I can stand up here. This is, look at this wild intarsia, and it goes on and on. There's more down here. There's I can't really stand up on the chair, but you can see there's more down at the bottom, and the sleeve has got stripes on this side that, go like this, and then on this side, look at that, stripes down to the cuff. And look how long that, this is one of the, it's very oversized, and it does it on this side too. Isn't that elegant? Yeah. So it's a big drop shoulder sweater. Oh, and it also has that stitch patterning on the back. The same intarsia on the back. I really like, though, what it did then on the shoulder. I think that's nice. So, yep, drop shoulder construction, knit flat and seamed, probably 1986 or 87. The pattern came from, let's see, I want to make sure. I don't have the exact magazine, the exact issue in the pile here that I brought downstairs, but it came from Sandra Knitting Magazine. And Sandra is a German publication, but I believe, like, it's got on here 95p, so I think that it's a German publication, but then they kind of they did some, where it's got some British, like a British price on it. I'm not sure why. And it had a contact somewhere in one of these. There was a contact in the UK. But if you can see, Sandra in the 80s, here's the back. And they would do this. They would show all of the sweaters, all the patterns that are inside are in the back with these little thumbnails. And so they would frequently do, in the 80s, one of these kind like this, where it's mixed materials in intarsia, and they would have a metallic with a mohair, with a smooth yarn, and maybe something else, and it will mix several things together. And I am always really hesitant to mix things together because I'm not sure they're going to turn out well. Like one thing might be, too bulky. One yarn might be too bulky and the other yarn might be too fine. And, so you get a lot of pulling and gapping and that kind of thing. And it just, so I'm really leery. But I decided to do this one, and lo and behold, it turned out just fine. And where I got these Sandra magazines, and I have got stacks and stacks of them, from the 80s up through, I'm not sure what my newest one was here, but maybe 97. I'm not sure if I have any into the 2000s. They are not in publication anymore. They stopped. They stopped publishing. But it's a very, let's see. 48 pages, basically, this is. It's very thin. And the paper it's thin magazine paper, like something you wouldn't necessarily hang on to for a long time, like tabloid type consistency, almost. It's very thin, but they packed a lot into there. There are no ads in here. It's just solid patterns, and here's, the whole pattern on one page, chart, schematic, photo, everything. It's very brief. And also, in the 80s, this particular pattern page, 2 sizes, 32, 34, or 36, 38. So not a lot of sizes, which also made it for a briefer pattern. And I don't think I was either one of those sizes back in the 80s. Maybe let's say 42. But 80s, everything was oversized, so you could pretty much make it fit. And here's the close-up of this sweater with you can see they've got a boucle and a metallic and the mohair all on a plain wool background. And since it was a European magazine, all the yarns they call for are European yarns that back then I never heard of. Every once in a while they would have something like Jaeger, Matchmaker, or Fildar, or Penguin, or like this one is Peyton's, which we could get at certain yarn stores at that time, but not very easily found. So where I started getting my Sandra magazines, Krista Berg, who some of you know as Mama Krista, but back then she was just plain old Krista Berg, Stephen B's mother, lived here in Trempealeau, and she had a yarn shop. And her first yarn shop was in her home out on the prairie, and then she rented a storefront in town here and had a yarn shop, and it was just, within walking distance, there was my local yarn shop, and I had just learned to knit. Before that, I crocheted, so I would go down a lot and spend money on yarn and patterns and get help from her. She taught me the German cast on. She taught, she just, showed me little tips and tricks as I was getting started knitting. And she would sell, she was German, so she would sell these Sandra magazines, and they were just a few dollars a piece, and I don't know if she would get them every month or it was every few months she'd get a supply in, and we'd look through them, and I don't know that I wanted to make something that was, I probably saw something in every issue that I thought, yeah, I'll make that, and I made a few things, but not as much as I, had ever originally planned. But still, good inspiration. And towards the end of Sandra's publication, they would do at least one sweater in every issue based on a work of art. Let me see if I can find one here that... Oh, it might, no, I don't know if it was that one. But yeah, so they would take a Picasso painting and turn it into a sweater. They would take Paul Klee and turn it into a sweater. Georgia O'Keeffe and turn it into a sweater. Just, and so those were usually intarsia patterns. And again, not that I wanted to make all of them, but there were a few that I thought were very interesting. So I'm not finding one of the good examples of that kind of thing. I should have. I saw one the other day, and I thought I would be able to pull it up really easy right away, but now my eye is not falling on it. So sorry about that. But you can find. Oh, and this one is a special issue, Fashion Hits. So. You can find these on Etsy and eBay and Ravelry, and other places, people selling them. I'm slowly going through, back issues and seeing would I really want to hang on to this and make things in here or not. Because space is becoming, I don't need to hang on to every single thing. So, but still, there are still patterns in here that are that are relevant. I just saw one in that magazine that I was holding up. Oh, where did it go? That it just, I would make it, you know? I would still make it today. So, yeah. No, I can't. No, I can't find that one either. Well, even just, you know, just this. This is a basic. I mean, how many gradient yarns do we know of today? That would be a good gradient sweater. It's just plain. It's just your plain drop shoulder sweater. But, and you know, maybe even something like this. If you had the right combo of yarns, that'd be kind of fun. So this sweater, this main color here is a commercial yarn called Bernat Pirandel, and I got it at Krista's yarn shop. Probably something like, you know, $1.75 or $2.50 a ball, 50-gram balls. Not very expensive. It is a 70% acrylic, 25% wool, 5% polyester, and it's sort of a boucle. You can kind of see it's boucle and black and teal, and there's a bit of navy and in there, and it's nice. And what I matched it with was probably 2 or 3 strands of mohair yarn that this mohair and the gray came, again, they were coned yarns from the knitting mills in Winona when they would have their fundraising sale for the local school. And so those, you know, were a couple dollars for a whole cone of yarn. And I had to put a few strands together to have the weight be the same. And the weight is the same. There isn't any where one is heavier than the other. So it worked well. And it's, you know, it's always nice when that happens and it works out. And then the gray has a bit of, I don't know if you can see it, a bit of sparkle to it. Flash, they called it, on the cones. You know, so sort of a stellina type thing. But just a little bit of sparkle, which also was very, very 80s. So, yeah, knit in pieces and seam together. And I had gotten better at seaming compared to that first throwback sweater I showed, or the one that had all the diamonds in cotton in episode 2, I think that was 2 or 3. So the seaming is better on the sides. It is genuine mattress stitch. On the shoulders, I did a 3-needle bind off to join the shoulders. And the sleeves, quite obviously, were knit from the cuff up and, you know, sewn into the sleeve hole, wherever that is. They weren't, here it is. There's the sleeve. Here's the shoulder seam way down here. Oh boy, what a dropped shoulder. Yeah, but look at how nice that matched, you know, that this, and on the back too. I was very pleased with that, how that worked out. So this is my conundrum. It is a nice long sweater. I can wear it as a tunic, and I don't, very rarely, I might have worn this to a knitter's lunch because knitters understand, you know. I don't know if I'd wear it anywhere else in public. But it, you know, it's huge, it's oversized, the sleeves are too long. It's great with leggings now, being a, you know, a tunic length sweater. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be. So I didn't really make it for my size. I made it as an 80s oversized sweater. You know, that's what we wore. And I'm trying to, every winter, every season when it rolls around and I pull it out to wear it, because I do wear it at least a few times in the winter, just around the house. It's a good around the house sweater. And these sleeves, you know, what to do, even if I'm just sitting around, they kind of just fall down and get in the way of knitting or whatever. So Most often what I end up doing is, rolling them up, and then they'll stay in place, but that looks goofy, that. So because if I just pull them up, they don't stay pulled up. So sadly, because of how this is constructed, it's not, I could do surgery on this. Here's my wrist bone right there. So I could cut this much off, and then hopefully see if I could undo this cuff and knit, pick up and knit a cuff down so that it ended closer to there. But on this sleeve, if I do that, because here's my wrist bone here on this sleeve, so if I do that here, I'm losing this whole gray stripe at the bottom. And is that a big deal? Well, I kind of think it is, because I think that, makes that sleeve work. Plus, look, these sleeves are shaped. So if I went back to here, that's a lot of fabric. It would really be a blousy sleeve if I just, picked up this same number of stitches and knit a cuff to land there. It would be very blousy, which is kind of in fashion again right now. Rather than go through all that, I just wear it like this and snuggle up in it and enjoy it, and think about the old days when I was just learning how to knit, and how cozy it was to go to Krista's shop, and she would oftentimes say, sit down, and we'd have a cup of tea and a snack and visit, and that was really nice. It was just one of those cozy places, and her shop was in an old building and full from floor to ceiling with yarn and needlework. She had needlepoint patterns there, all manner of yarns, from affordable acrylics to she carried a lot of Bernat and Unger, Brunswick. Oh, I miss Brunswick yarns so much. Brunswick, Germantown, and all of the ranges that yarn companies had back then. It was just amazing. And she had a lot. Her shop was stuffed. And little interesting things that she would get from Germany, because she would take trips back, to visit and find things that you just couldn't get around here and bring them back to the shop. So it was always fun to look through everything that she had there. And eventually she got out of that store. It was smallish, and she bought a bigger store building. Again, still an old general store type of a storefront. But that was, how many miles away? Let's say maybe 12 or 15 miles to the north of here. And so it was less convenient to go. And I would still go. We would make, special trips to visit and go shopping. But that sort of coincided with me having too much stuff already. Too much, to knit with. So I wasn't necessarily going, only if I would go to visit, or I would go if I needed something special that I knew she had. But I didn't just, drop in on a whim kind of a thing, or just, it was less convenient than just walking a few blocks and going in the door. So, but still, good, her shop up north there, it was in Beaches Corners, Wisconsin, if you're familiar with that at all. She had that shop full, floor to ceiling, and, little aisles and treasures everywhere. So there are a couple yarn shops like that today. Blue Heron Knittery down in Decorah, Iowa is a shop that reminds me a bit of that. There's a lot in that shop, a lot to look at, and I enjoy going there as well, finding treasures. So that's my sweater for the day. This is going to be a shorter episode because that's about all I have to talk about is my sweater and the sock update. And just that, I guess, with the Throwback Thursday theme, the things we make, they can still work and still provide joy and comfort so many years later, even if they're not fashion forward. And I know all the 80s, I love it when they say, this is retro and this is making a comeback and it's vintage. It's like, how can it be vintage? I lived through this. It's not what I consider vintage, but I guess it is. So, yeah, it's fun when, and this definitely was more of a fashion type thing, especially with all the angles and that to it. You remember all of the Bill Cosby sweaters that he wore that were so bright and colorful and did a lot of things. That's sort of on that order, but not entirely. So, yeah, it's just, knit what you like, hold on to it. Or, I could have donated this years ago. I didn't get to that point where I went, okay, I'm done with it. I don't like it anymore, or I don't have a use for it. So, no, I enjoy wearing it on the few days that I do wear it out of the year. So, there are certainly sweaters that I have that I wear a lot more frequently. Yeah, but I'm getting a nice cozy feeling wearing this today. So, that's a good thing. Do what you want. I knit what I want. I wear what I want. And who knows, maybe I would wear this out in public someday because I don't care. Not that I don't care, but I don't mind if I look outdated, or I hope I just look interesting. Let's put it that way. If you're going to do it, go big or go home kind of thing. I don't know. I'm blathering now. Anyway, I didn't put together a drawing for this episode. I thought about it, but I haven't gone through my Sandras yet to decide which ones I want to keep and which ones I would want to part with. And here was another magazine that Krista also sold that is German, Anna. And that's how she would say Anna. Anna magazines. And Anna would have some knitting, but also some needlework, some sewing, card making. They just had a whole bunch of different things. Bobbin lace. There's tatting on the back. And they would have a section in the center of, the patterns that would come out. Like this is a transfer to do embroidery. And then here are all your charts for things. And, you could pull this out and there might even be a sewing pattern in here. And they were one of the first ones where I saw, I think these are patterns for bobbin lace over here. But they would have charted crochet sometimes in here. So, yeah, good. And obviously I didn't make anything because the pattern section's still intact in there. But sort of the same line of, the thin paper that it's printed on, and very succinct patterns without a whole lot of information or hand-holding. You just pretty much had to know what you were doing ahead of time. And actually, I like that little embroidery motif there. That would be nice to embroider. I haven't embroidered in years. I've got projects, again, in the works. Look at that. There's some kids' hats. There's a mouse. I think that's a mouse. And a bear, a lion, and a bee. Goofy little kids' hats. Here's 2-color slipper socks. Those actually look kind of comfy. They might be worth worth trying. Yeah. Oh, slipper socks, Balkan style. I like that. Although that foot looks awfully wide at the toes there, doesn't it? Yeah. Might flop around a bit. But you just never know where inspiration is going to strike, do you? I'll stop looking at these. So I didn't do a drawing, put one together for this time. It just really didn't feel right. But we will do the drawing. We'll pull the winner for the sock bundle from last time, the Ba La Jolla, and the Shoppel boots, the little post-it note, Live, Learn, Knit, and the favorite socks book, which does have some really nice patterns in it. Yeah, they would be fun to get. Oh, look at that. Oops, look at that one. Nice patterned cuff on there. That'd be fun. So, we, again, a few people, here are the names, 11. So still very good odds for the drawing. The next one, I'll probably do a drawing next time. So here we go, and we'll pull one out, and it is Theresa Knittingdancer. Interesting. I wonder if that's her real name or her knitting name. Either way, dancing, knitting, it's all good. Theresa Knittingdancer. I will get in touch with you to get your address and send this off to you. And with that, yes, this is good. This is about how long I really want these episodes to be, but you know me, I talk and talk, and I could talk all day about knitting. And let me think if I'm forgetting anything that, I guess not. I will say the reason this is a day late here. Oh, I can keep talking. The reason this is a day late is because there was some living this week in the form of I needed to get a new battery for my car. I had every cold day in our cold spell when I had to start the car. It doesn't go out every day. It only goes out maybe once a week or so. And every time I had to start it, I had to put it on the charger. So I thought, all right, after the third time, so it's time to get a new battery. So that was my Monday errand, was getting a new battery once I got the car started. And then I didn't want to put it in until I had a day where I was going to run around, and, you know, I didn't want to just put it in a cold car and have it sit for another week in the garage. So Wednesday I did that and ran my errands, got the new battery installed, and I got to tell you, I am always just a little extra pleased when I can do a task that is a traditional man task, you know. I mean, I am not going to become a grease monkey and tear my car apart and put it back together, but I do like to, you know, check my own. I used to, when I was in college, I had a car that I could change the oil on, and I did. I changed the oil and did all those kinds of routine maintenance things myself. Sadly, it's too hard to do that with the car I have now. You know, you have to put it up on a lift basically to get to where the oil pan is, and I don't have that kind of facility, so I don't change my oil anymore. But I do, you know, put my own air in my tires and check the oil when I can, when I need to, and add fluids and that kind of thing. I do as much as I can on my own. So yeah, I put that battery in myself, and really, there's nothing to it. You know, it's just a puzzle. It's just, I mean, if you can knit a sock, you can put a battery in a car, because it's just a puzzle. It's just figuring out the steps of, you take the old battery out step by step, you put the new one in the reverse steps, and there you go. So, but it does give me some pleasure that I can be independent, because I'm a very independent person. If you haven't guessed already, I am very independent, and I like to do things for myself, without having to be leaning on or relying on others. Sometimes you have to. There are going to be repair jobs on the house that need to be done that will have to be done by others, but if I can do, I will do the things I can. So, so I did the battery change out, and then Thursday morning, when I would have normally recorded the podcast, I was taking the old battery back to the motor place so that I could get the credit for, they charge you a $15 fee, and then you bring your old battery back, and they give you that money back, like a deposit on pop bottles, So that's what I was doing Thursday morning instead of recording the podcast. That's why it's late. But it's all good. It means things are getting done around here. And my task for this afternoon is hopefully sit at my desk and clean it off because I've misplaced my box of stamps. I don't know where it is. I couldn't find it. I packed up 3 packages and I had 1 card to send out this morning, and I couldn't find my stamp box for anything, and it's, there's just too much paperwork, too much stuff there. So that time in the morning, I thought, okay, I'm going to run this stuff down and real quick record a podcast, and then I'm going to get back in here and clean off this desk. And I had such motivation then, and it's fading fast. But maybe since I've said I'm going to do it, I'll go and do it. Except I know there's a new episode of Andrea Mowry to watch, and who knows else. I might be behind in Crayabea. So I might have lunch and just watch a couple podcasts, and I'll get in there eventually. And maybe my motivation will come back. I hope so. Because I really need to set up some of my files, etc. for 2024. I haven't done it yet, and that needs to happen. So hopefully you've got some things that you will be motivated to finish, and if not, you do what you want. It's all good. The weekend is here. Hopefully what you want is to do some knitting, relax, enjoy whatever season you're in. Get cozy. Be well. Thank you.